bad customers. If you've ever worked a retail job throughout your life, you have definitely experienced bad customers. And for those of you that keep up with my channel, you will know that I used to work at a grocery store. And of course, everybody needs to get food somehow. So you don't know who the hell and what kind of characters you're going to be dealing with for the day, but it doesn't matter. I signed up for it and I was getting paid $11 an hour to deal with it. So there were many peculiar characters I ran into, as you know, and I've talked about some of them in videos prior, but today I am dropping more lore and talking about new characters I came across. I think it's great to start off with the fish guy. Now, of course, my grocery store has a seafood section, and a lot of times my mom and dad would buy stuff from the seafood section. And this dude, the fish guy, was there all the time to remind people what they put in these fish and blah, blah, blah. And one time, my dad, when he was buying fish, this dude seemed to have like some kind of crash out episode. Like, as my dad was waiting in line, somebody was like grabbing salmon or something in front of him. This dude was like, "Do you know what they put in these fish? Pesticides. They put pesticides in these fish." Like, all right, buddy, put your tinfoil hat away. Holy shit. Because if they were, people would be dying, all right? People would be dead if they were genuinely putting pesticides in these fish. And he would just stand there for like minutes at a time and tell people that they're putting pesticides in the fish. Like he was some kind of activist raising awareness about it. Like he would stand there with a fucking sign. Okay, he would not stand there with a sign, but you get my point. But he would camp at the seafood section and he would be there quite often. And when I was sitting there on my break, my dad told me about this altercation that he just came across. And I was not ready for what I was about to witness next. And it was about time for me to get off break afterwards. I clock back in, and then of course one of my first customers is Fish Guy, and I didn't know it at first. I had no idea. And then this dude tells me everything that he was telling everybody else about the pesticides and the fish or whatever, and the entire time I'm scanning this guy's groceries, he's just yapping about this whole fish thing. And I've never wanted to tell somebody to shut the hell up more in my entire life. And you know how it is with crazy people, you kind of just have to agree with them and be like, yep, until they go away, or else they're not gonna go away. And well, eventually he got his groceries and he went away. Him and the conspiracy theorist guy I talked about, I don't even know how many videos ago now. Must have been buddy. Sitting on the couch, drinking a beer, discussing flat earth theory or some shit. I don't know. Oh my god, these fucking peons in the round earth. I can't believe it. Yeah, I know, right? They're such imbeciles. Holy shit. But not only have I dealt with crazy people, I have also dealt with Karens. Or, well, I guess they are crazy people. Karens were so frequent at this grocery store that I never really told a lot of stories revolving around Karens. And of course, we gotta start with the male Karen. We'll call him Darren. Immediately when Darren would walk up to my register, I would just say like, "Hi, how are you?" "Paper and plastic, please." "Okay, all right, never mind." And one time I'm going through the motion of putting his paper bags inside of plastic bags, whatever he wanted. Some issue was going on where these potatoes that I had would not ring up, whatever. And this was around the time where I first started off. And for those of you that never have worked at a grocery store, you gotta memorize a whole Bible of PLU codes. They gave us a reference sheet in alphabetical order, but sometimes it was just impossible to find. So I was looking for this specific bag of potatoes he bought. And to this day, I swear, this was the exact brand that he bought. I put it in, and he was like, "These potatoes were $2.99. So I go to check the price of these potatoes, and turns out they were $3.99. So I come back, and I tell him this information, and he's like, "No, they're $2.99. So I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding?" And I didn't want to deal with this. And I honestly could have got fired for this. I don't really care. I just decided to say, "Fuck it. You know what? You're right, bro. They're $2.99, just to get them out of my face." And that's what I did. I changed the price to $2.99. Just so he would leave me the hell alone. I just didn't even care anymore. I was really fighting this dude over $1. I didn't even want to deal with it. If I get fired, I get fired. Whatever. And this next story takes place in like, I don't even know. It was like January of 2020. This was before the pandemic. I was like 16 years old. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I would often forget bags. So it was on me, 16-year-old me, whether or not you were eating today, which is crazy. So this customer that came up to me was kind of already being a bitch to begin with. She was already yelling at me because I didn't put the meats in a separate bag. And okay, should I have done that? Yeah, but it's not really that big of a deal. Like, as long as I didn't put that shit with, like, dish soap or something, it would be fine. I slid a little taco seasoning packet in there, and she got all mad at me. She's still being, like, super passive-aggressive with me. She was, like, telling me how to do my job almost. Like, she was pretty much like, you gotta rip the bag, hun. It's too heavy. So I start separating things, and this is when I forgot a bag. Because obviously, separating things is gonna make it way more complicated for my stupid, no attention span having ass to remember where it is. Because the bags I was using were on like a carousel type of thing. So that's how I would forget bags a lot. I think I was just an idiot. That's probably why. But anyways, you know, as I get this lady out of there, I realize that I forgot a bag. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm cooked. And this lady already left by now. It's been like 10 minutes. But regardless, I go sprint out to the parking lot like I'm running a marathon. Not to like the 200 people in the parking lot I'm looking for her. It's nighttime. It's winter. It's cold. I'm not gonna see her. So I just go up to the customer service desk and I take my L. I tell them I forgot a bag. And yeah, they just looked at me in disappointment. Because this was like the fucking 4th time in the last 2 weeks. But like 20 minutes later, she comes back just to yell at me because I forgot the bag. It was a bag with a mini box of frozen sausages. And that's how I ended up forgetting about it. But she was like, oh, you could ruin people's days at breakfast or whatever the hell. And I genuinely thought I was getting fired that day. I'm like, bro, it's over. I'm gonna have to get a new job. I literally started working here a couple months ago. She wasn't like super mad, but she was kind of being like super passive aggressive with me, which was really annoying. And immediately she went up to customer service and I knew exactly what that meant. Manager comes up to me, Burdie, we're gonna have to talk to you after the shift. I'm like, oh God, here we go. So I sit down in the manager's office and he proceeds to tell me I'm suspended for 2 weeks. And yes, that's how shit at my job I was. I got suspended. And I would have got fired if they weren't looking for bodies on the register. I mean, pretty much that's what they were looking for. If you had a pulse, boom, you're hired. Genuinely, that's what it felt like. So I got lucky that I was not fired. Otherwise, I would have had to find some other shit to do. My dumbass may or may not have gotten finessed by a customer. I don't know what the outcome was of this, but my dumbass basically did not know how to run their payment through a check, right? And in order for the check to go through, obviously it needs to be signed by the person. Or well, I knew this, but I was like unsure and I let this lady manipulate me. So I told her, I'm like, hey, the check's unsigned. You have to sign it. And she was like, oh no, you could just hand somebody the blank check and it will just go through. And I was like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah. And of course, they drilled into my head, the supermarket I worked at, the customer is always right. I don't know how many times they said that throughout my opening meeting or whatever it was, but second guessing myself in that moment, I'm like, oh, maybe she is right. But I'm like, what? No, that's stupid. Obviously, she's trying to like finesse you. And these two thoughts in my brain were just completely duking it out. And I had no idea what to do in that moment. And I caved. Of course I did. I was like, oh, sure, I'll just run it through. And the check went through somehow because the register system is old as fuck. Like, I don't know why they don't just get new systems. So it ended up going through with no signature, which is crazy. And she was like, oh, have a great day. The moment I heard that, I'm like, oh shit, she definitely finessed me. And the manager came up to me after I handed in the check when my shift was over. She was like, what's this? I'm like, a check? The moment that happened, I knew I was in deep shit. And yeah, my manager definitely thought I was an idiot because the amount of time she would yell at me for doing dumb shit was just unbearable. I mean, I was like 16 and I just started the job, but still, I truly was a dumbass, okay? Like, I really let this lady manipulate me into getting finessed. And yep, my manager sat there and told me, yeah, I'm writing you up for this. You need to make sure every check you get is signed because then you won't be able to cash it. And I have this problem in life, just in general, where I always second guess myself, but I knew it. I was right. And even though it has her account number on it, they still won't be able to cash it without a signature. It doesn't matter. Or maybe they will. I don't fucking know. So I never really found out the outcome of the situation, whether the check went through or not, but I still got written up regardless. And I'm lucky I didn't get suspended again or fired because that very well could have happened. And like I said earlier, they definitely just let it slide because they needed people out there. They were just fucking deploying any other person off the street to work at my grocery store. It didn't even matter to them. The interview process did not take that much brain cells to go through, so they were pretty desperate for help at this point. But the craziest customer I have dealt with by far, I mentioned him briefly in my last video, but I never really went into the full lore. Crate Guy. And the reason why we would call him that, well, he would carry around this big ass milk crate with him everywhere he went. And Crate Guy was a spectacle, truly. He was one of the regulars, always in the store every single day. Now, this took place from 2020, 2021, around that time. And the very first encounter that I had with this dude is that he was apologizing to my friend. And I was really confused. I was like, what is going on? And who even is this guy? I just got off break and I'm like, okay, clearly some shit must have happened. And I asked my friend what happened, and pretty much what he said, he asked him if he was in school and like what he was doing for like extracurriculars and shit like that, and he told him he was doing mass debate. Some of you may see where this is going, some of you may not. And basically what happened is Crate Guy said, so are you a mass debater? Like, this dude really made a dad joke about choking the chicken. That is insane. So he was just laughing uncomfortably the whole time, and then he was like, no, really, it was like a serious question. Do you touch yourself? Like, what the fuck? Yeah, on everything, this is a real story. On my channel, on my life, on everything. This shit is real. Crate Guy looked like he was pushing 70, looked like Carl from Up. So my friend was obviously like, okay, I just need to get this guy the hell out of here. And that he does. And afterward, the manager asked him if he wanted to go work in the bakery. So he did for a little bit, and then he talked to the manager about Crate Guy, and then he tells the manager like, hey, can you make sure he doesn't go through my line again, because what he said to me was insane. And that was when I first encountered him, the second time my friend saw him. And once my friend dropped the lore to me about Crate Guy, yeah, bro, I just did not want this dude in my line at all. Like, I would turn off my light every single time this dude would pull up, because I did not want to talk to this dude. Because every time he would talk to me, like when I was on my break, he would be talking to me for like 10 minutes straight about, I don't even know what the hell he was talking about, to be honest with you. He was telling me how he was writing a book, and he was also cooking up a GoFundMe. And that's why he was there so often. He would always be typing his GoFundMe on the computer. And he would always tell all of us, every cashier that was at the store at this point, to go check it out. And that we did, okay? We were all curious. We had to check out this GoFundMe. He told me the name, but I couldn't really remember it the first time, but luckily I came across him again. I was working the express register one day. Crate Guy went through my line, and it was a blessing in disguise. He was telling me about the GoFundMe again, and I told him to write it down on a piece of paper because, you know, I just couldn't find it, bro. You gotta tell me what the name is. And he did. He told me the name, and obviously I'm not gonna say it, but we'll just say it was like Crate Guy 123. What a creative name. I know. Everybody was asking me, they were like, yo, what's the GoFundMe? And I just gave him the piece of paper, and we had to turn our phones into a bin for some reason. I mean, I kept mine on me. I didn't really care. We really couldn't use our phones at all, or else we were cooked. So we just looked it up the moment we got home. Me and my friends were in an Xbox party, and the friend of mine that had that weird ass encounter with Crate Guy, he was the one reading the GoFundMe. And usually people will make a GoFundMe when they're in extreme need of like medical care or something like that. But this guy, he just made one for the fuck of it, and he made the goal like $1 million. I forget exactly what the goal was. I don't remember. But yeah, some of it's a little bit too deep for YouTube. I don't really want to talk about it. But in a nutshell, I don't think he had a place to live, so he was spending a lot of time in stores with his computer and shit like that. And basically, he would get kicked out from these stores and places a lot for mooching off of their Wi-Fi and just staying there for way too long. I remember one time he stayed at our store for like 8+ hours and ended up getting kicked out by the end of the night because we can't let him stay there, bro. We gotta close down the store. I've never seen somebody more locked in typing up a GoFundMe in my entire life. Yeah, he would just be there for hours. I could be there the entire shift, and by the end of my shift, he was still there typing. The dedication is crazy, man. He had to stay locked in. But yeah, clearly Crate Guy had a lot going on mentally, and some crazy shit happened where apparently somebody ended up getting a restraining order on him, so yeah. It's a long story. That was the spark notes of it, but it was basically his life lore, and that shit was like 20 pages long. I don't know how my friend read the entire thing, but he did. And was this the book he was talking about he was working on? I'm not even sure. I don't know. But this next story, unfortunately, closed the little chapter of the Crate Guy lore. You know, just ended it with a nice little bow on top, closed the storybook, and I never saw him again after this. But yeah, literally 2 weeks later, this is like right before I was about to leave, the service clerk went outside to get carts as per usual, and he saw none other than Crate Guy just pissing in the parking lot. There is a bathroom in the store. I don't know why he had to piss in the parking lot. So there he was, pissing in Ultra HD view. So the service clerk went to go get the manager, and this dude, Crate Guy, got banned. I might have to ask my friends who still work there. I don't know if he ever got unbanned. I'm not even sure. But yeah, watch the first video I made about my experience working a retail job. Just click on it.